deep dive. If you're here, you're looking for a shortcut. And I don't mean a shortcut to just passive knowledge, but a shortcut to real, actionable insight, the kind that genuinely elevates your professional game.
Exactly. We take this really complex, sometimes overwhelming source material.
And we turn it into something you can use immediately, something that, fundamentally changes how you approach your career, your business.
That's the whole idea. And today's dive, it isn't about asking AI to write a quick email or summarize an article.
Right, that's table stakes now.
It is. Those days are frankly over. We're moving way past that kind of passive consumption and into, well, fundamental behavioral and professional transformation.
This is the playbook. This is the definitive playbook for navigating what's coming in the job market, in the business landscape over the next decade.
And our mission, for you, is to achieve what our sources call deep internalization.
Deep internalization. I like that.
It's about moving beyond just knowing the facts, the what, and really truly understanding the why, and maybe most critically, the how.
How to integrate AI to elevate your skills and, let's be honest, secure your future. Immediately.
Yeah. And to do that, we're going to use the same four-part structure the experts themselves recommend.
The why, the what, the how, and the pitfalls.
Exactly. We'll use that to dissect this entire dive.
Okay, so let's unpack this. And let's do it with the urgency that the sources demand. We're starting with section 1, the emotional connection. This is the urgent why of AI.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't some theoretical fear. This is corporate strategy playing out at an unnerving speed right now. The sources really highlight this critical, almost chilling shift in how corporations are behaving financially.
Right. You see the headlines every single week. UPS firing 48,000 workers.
Amazon, 14,000. Intel, 25,000.
These aren't just minor restructurings. These are massive changes justified by a whole new financial narrative.
And this is where it gets really interesting and, well, frankly, quite brutal.
Yeah.
The market isn't just allowing this. It's actively incentivizing this kind of hyper-efficiency. The source material notes that when UPS announced they were firing 48,000 people, their stock price went up.
By a full 10%.
10%.
And that 10% increase, that is the central mechanism you have to understand. In the past, massive layoffs usually signaled a struggling company.
Yeah, the stock would drop. It meant weakness, a lack of demand.
Exactly. But today, it signals optimization. And you get a stock price bump because the prevailing investor narrative has completely flipped. It's now removing humans increases profitability.
So why that shift? Why would the market value a human worker as a liability now when just, say, 5 years ago they were an asset?
Because the market is pricing in the future value of AI. It's that simple. When a CEO announces cuts and ties them to automation or process optimization, the story they're telling shareholders is, we have just structurally removed cost centers.
And we can replace them with scalable, non-unionized, always-on AI.
That's the foundational economic incentive, AI-driven efficiency. It used to be a competitive advantage.
And
now it's rapidly becoming an operational prerequisite. If your competitor cuts 20% of their operational costs using AI and gets a stock bump for it,
you're now incentivized to do the exact same thing, even if you don't fully get the tech yet.
you have to. The reward for that efficiency is immediate and it's massive.
Which leads to a really good question. If the market rewards you for being hyper-efficient, why would you ever choose inefficiency?
Well, you wouldn't.
And that brings us to this fascinating cultural difference the sources analyzed. They called it the global efficiency divide.
Absolutely. The expert in the source described this mindset that's really prevalent in places like India or other emerging markets.
Which is?
The tendency is often to just throw people at every problem.
Right. So if a company needs research done, but they don't have the time, they just hire 3 junior people who maybe spend, 30 minutes a day on that actual task.
Or they hire one person whose entire job is just to organize disorganized data.
They called this the intern syndrome, didn't they?
Yes. You hire someone to manage the person whose job is just managing these small inefficiencies.
Inefficiencies that could easily be automated.
But you do it simply because the cost of labor is perceived as low enough to justify that inefficiency. You scale by headcount.
Okay, so that's one model.
Now, contrast that with the U.S. company mindset, especially in the tech sector. Labor costs are high. Startup culture demands optimization from day one.
Right. The sources mentioned companies with billion-dollar valuations and only 20 or 30 employees.
Exactly. Their entire structure is built on hyper-efficiency. They optimize every single process right from the seed stage because, simply put, the cost of people is high. They scale by code.
So this cultural difference in how you deal with inefficiency, that's the fault line. That's where AI hits the hardest.
It is. The companies that are used to solving problems with systems and code, for them, it's just an incremental improvement. They're just replacing old systems with cheaper, faster AI.
But the other companies, the ones that rely on high headcount to sort of paper over the cracks of inefficiency,
They suddenly have a massive, unnecessary, and totally unscalable cost center.
and that leads us directly to the existential threat, the one hanging over the entire workforce.
The sources quote the founder of Anthropics, what they called his nightmare prediction.
Which is that 50% of all entry-level white-collar jobs will be gone.
Gone in the next 5 years.
5 years. Let's sit with that velocity point for a moment.
We have to.
We always talk about historical parallels, but the sources emphasize that the Industrial Revolution, it happened over roughly 100 years.
A century. It gave multiple generations time to adapt, to reskill, to create totally new job categories like mechanics or factory managers.
And the speed is the key challenge here.
It's everything. AI is not a century-long transition. This whole disruption is happening in the span of maybe 5 years. And that speed, that velocity, it makes this short-term disruption, both economically and socially.
Catastrophic. Potentially catastrophic for anyone who isn't prepared.
Right. Because the system, our education, our government, our safety nets, it just cannot move that fast. No way.
So if the system can't adapt, the individual has to. What's the counter strategy?
The imperative is crystal clear. You have to optimize your career today for what the world will look like 10 years from now.
Not what it looks like today.
Not what it looks like today. You can't afford to rely on template-driven, repeatable tasks anymore, no matter how specialized they might feel.
So the whole goal of this deep dive, then, is to give you the toolkit you need to become part of that hyper-efficient minority.
The ones that companies want to keep. The ones that drive the stock price up, not down.
Okay. We needed that emotional connection, that urgent why, to really understand the stakes. So now that we get the gravity of the situation, let's move into Section 2, Radical Simplicity. The what of personal and business AI. This is where we get the blueprint for survival.
So we're going to use that deep internalization framework that the sources advocate for.
The 4 pillars.
Exactly. It's a structure designed to move knowledge from being this, abstract theory into immediate practiced behavioral change. We're going to apply it to everything we discuss.
Okay, so just to recap, this framework breaks down any new concept, whether it's a tool or a whole strategy, into 4 essential pillars.
First, you have the why, the emotional connection. You have to connect the concept to something real, alleviating suffering, improving your potential. If you don't care about the outcome, the knowledge is useless.
It won't stick.
It won't stick.
Yeah.
Second, the what, radical simplicity. You explain the core mechanism using a crystal clear analogy or a metaphor. You avoid all the unnecessary jargon.
Third is the how, behavioral change. This is where you translate the theory into 3 small, actionable habits you can start today. It's the bridge between thinking and doing.
And finally, the pitfalls. This is the protective advice. You identify the most common misunderstanding that trips people up so you can just avoid it.
Great. So let's apply that framework right now to the cutting-edge tools they discussed. This is the playbook for personalized AI insights.
Starting with external understanding.
The first one, which gives just a massive competitive edge, is a tool called Crystal Knows.
Right.
So tell us what this is and how it delivers on that idea of a personalized playbook.
Okay, so Crystal Knows is a Chrome extension. And what it does is it reads a person's public digital footprint.
So primarily their LinkedIn profile, their Twitter activity.
Other content they've made available on the internet, yes. But it's what it does with that information.
It's not just summarizing their job history or where they went to school. The source material really emphasizes that it performs a deep psychometric analysis. It's generating psychographical data.
Correct. It runs the text they've written through these specialized models, and it generates a psychological profile. It analyzes their traits, what truly energizes them professionally, and critically, how they structure their arguments and their content.
So the output is basically a psychological playbook for how to interact with that specific person.
That's a perfect way to put it. If you're preparing for a huge pitch to an investor,
it gives you a script tailored to their personality.
Not a script, but a style guide. It claims 95% plus accuracy in predicting whether that person is analytical, direct, creative, or cautious.
So it tells you how to structure the conversation to be most productive.
Exactly. The source expert gave this analogy. You have a date. Here is a playbook about the person. You know more about the person than the person knows about himself or herself.
I have to ask, though, what are the ethical considerations here? Doesn't this border on psychological manipulation?
It's a really important question. But the sources frame it strictly as a tool for communication efficiency.
Okay.
It doesn't tell you what to say, but how to say it. So your message is received as clearly as possible based on their profile. It helps you bypass misunderstandings.
So if they prefer bullet points and facts, you don't give them a long story.
And if they prefer a big picture vision, you don't get bogged down in the minutia. You're just maximizing clarity and productivity. It's a huge professional edge.
Okay, that makes sense. The second tool they highlighted, this one's focused on networking and referrals, is Happenstance.
Right. A deep search engine for people.
How does it manage to surface connections that a human would just completely miss?
So Happenstance connects your entire digital network, LinkedIn, Twitter, and, this is a critical part, your email inbox history.
Your email?
Yes. So when you search for a target person, let's say the head of engineering at Google, it identifies all these secondary connections through your shared contacts. But the real magic is the scoring.
The relationship strength score.
Exactly. It scores the strength of your relationships based on historical activity. It might say you have exchanged 20 emails with this person over the last year, so your connection is strong.
Or you have one mutual connection, but they haven't talked in 5 years, so it's a weak link.
Precisely. It helps you find the mutual connection who could provide the best, warmest introduction. It's networking on steroids because it prioritizes the connections that will actually get back to you.
And the key insight from the sources was uncovering those golden nuggets.
Yeah.
People you spoke to years ago who've since become industry leaders.
Exactly. The expert realized through this tool that they had emailed people years and years ago when these individuals were just starting out who had since skyrocketed to major leadership positions.
And you just don't remember every single passing interaction from a decade ago.
Of course not. But the AI does. The tool uses your own digital history to reactivate these high-value, dormant connections that you have literally forgotten you ever had.
That's incredible. So moving past these specific tools, the sources really emphasize the core mechanism that's driving all this advanced AI.
Context is king.
Context is king, which allows for the rise of these truly autonomous agents.
And this is where we have to introduce a key term, the Model Context Protocol, or MCP.
Okay.
This is the technical pivot point for the next 5 years of AI development.
Give us the simplest possible analogy for MCP. What is it in plain English?
Okay, so think of the large language model, your GPT or your Claude, as the brain. It's the intelligence, the reasoning capacity.
Right.
MCP is the central nervous system. It's the protocol that takes that brain and gives it sensation and motor control.
So it connects the brain to the body. Your phone apps, your calendar, your health tracker.
Your financial accounts, all through APIs. It allows the AI to feel and act in the real world, instead of just sitting there answering abstract questions.
It moves it from passive knowledge to active execution.
That's it. And that capability is what enables these truly autonomous agents, which the source is best illustrated with the Zomato agent example.
Okay, let's walk through the steps that agent manages, because this really drives home the power of context.
Imagine this interaction. You tell your AI agent, I feel like eating biryani, but I don't want to eat anything I've ordered in the last few months, and I want it to be highly rated.
That sounds like a simple request. But the steps a human would take are immense. I'd have to open the app, scroll through my order history, filter restaurants by rating, compare them to my own tastes, check delivery times. That's 30 minutes of cognitive load right there.
The Zomato agent, through MCP, instantly accesses multiple data streams. Step 1, your current location. Step 2, your full Zomato search and order history. That's the context.
Step 3, cross-reference current real-time restaurant availability and ratings. That's external data.
Right. Step 4, it does the deep research and filtering, identifying a highly rated, popular biryani spot you've never tried. And then step 5, it places the cash-on-delivery order automatically, all the way through payment and confirmation.
And the final signal it sends isn't an email you have to read. It's just a simple acknowledgement. Is it good to go?
And you just think yes or nod, and the entire complex, multi-layered transaction is done. That is what context mastery looks like.
And this ability to synthesize context is even more powerful in personal applications.
Like the health coach agent use case they described.
Right. This takes that Zomato example and applies the same MCP framework to personal wellness and diagnostics.
Exactly. The LLM connects to your detailed blood reports, your diet and workout charts, and critically, real-time biometric data from your Oura Ring or your Apple Watch, all via MCP.
So you can ask it, I feel slightly feverish today. Should I be worried about the flu?
And the agent can instantly cross-reference today's low heart rate variability and low sleep score against 3 years of historical data, your recent blood work, and even local public health trends.
That is way more contextual information than any human doctor has time to absorb in a standard 30-minute consultation. It's personalized, instantaneous healthcare.
All driven by context mastery. And looking just a little further down the road, the sources touched on the alter ego concept.
The ultimate feature of AI input.
And it relies entirely on MCP being fully robust.
This really pushes the boundaries. It's almost science fiction, but it's based on actual MIT research. How does it work?
The alter ego is a non-invasive headset, and it translates a user's internal subvocal thought, what you're thinking, into a command for the AI agent running in the background.
So no talking, no typing, no clicking, frictionless input. You just think what you need.
Yes. You think, I need a flight home tonight around 10 p.m.
And the agent receives that command and just starts working.
The agent, thanks to MCP, accesses your calendar to check for meetings. It checks traffic data to the airport, checks flight schedules, books the flight, books the cab. It manages all the logistics.
And the sources estimate this is maybe 1 or 2 years away from being a consumer product.
It completely removes the friction of input. It unlocks the full power of an AI agent running your life logistics purely based on your intent and your thought.
It's a total paradigm shift.
Which means if Section 2 was about the tools and the context, Section 3 is the most critical part of this. Yeah.
The how. How do we apply this advanced contextual understanding to our work today? We have to start with the most fundamental behavioral change. This is actionable habit 1, mastering the magic prompt formula.
ROCD.
ROCD. This is how you stop treating AI like a magic 8-ball and start treating it like a strategic consultant.
The core belief here, which the source has demonstrated so vividly, is that better prompts lead to fundamentally different outputs.
A basic prompt gets a generic response.
Right. But a structured prompt, it leverages the AI's full reasoning capacity and its context mastery. ROCD forces you to think like an engineer, not just a casual user.
Let's break down the 4 components in detail. First up, R for role.
Role is all about assigning the AI an expert persona. You don't just ask it to write an email.
No.
You instruct it to act as a 15-year experienced copywriter from Ogilvy who specializes in sales psychology.
Or act as an expert McKinsey consultant with a focus on supply chain logistics.
And the AI then taps into that specialized knowledge base associated with that specific, highly competent persona. It ensures the tone, the structure, the depth of the analysis are all professional grade.
Okay, second is O for objective. This needs to be the clearest, most unambiguous goal you can possibly state.
For instance, convince my boss to give me 2 days off when I have no leave remaining. Very specific.
Or draft a comprehensive data-driven analysis proving that we must pivot our marketing budget to video.
Third is C for context. This is where most people fail.
This is the big one.
It is. You have to detail the situation, any known variables that might influence the outcome. If you're writing that leave request, my boss is 45, believes strongly in WFO, hates uncommitted employees, and is dealing with a high-pressure deadline this week.
That context allows the AI to tailor its tone and its strategy. It can preemptively manage those known human biases.
And finally, fourth is D for data. Any required facts, figures, links, anything that has to be included or considered. If the output needs to cite specific Q3 earnings, you include them right here.
The sources gave a perfect practical example of this. They contrasted a simple, lazy email request with one generated using the ROCD framework.
The simple email was just, 2 lines. I want to request a day's leave tomorrow for personal work. The output was fine, but it was sterile. It offered no guarantees to the boss, risked a negative response.
But the RACD-generated email, which factored in the boss's known biases, it was a fundamentally different psychological artifact.
Totally different. It included nuanced language. It acknowledged the importance of being present. It detailed proactive steps that had already been taken to cover the work.
Like, I've already scheduled the 2 most critical emails to send automatically before I leave.
And crucially, it included emotional sincerity. That's the strategic touch.
What was the line? It was something like,
I'm honestly feeling quite torn even writing this because I hate to let the team down during this crunch.
That's the difference between using AI for summarization and using it for sophisticated human resource strategy.
It's the difference between a boss granting the leave grudgingly and a boss actually understanding the necessity. That is the power of ROCD.
And because the experts know that even typing out ROCD every time is inefficient, they shared an incredible efficiency hack.
The prompt generator, or meta prompting.
So you're using one AI to write the perfect ROCD prompt for you. How does that save time?
Well, you use a specialized tool, or even a powerful standard LLM with a template, and you just input your weak request.
Like write a sales email to land a high-paying client.
Right. The tool then prompts you for the missing ROCD elements. It acts as this interactive coach, forcing you to define the role, the objective, the context, and the data.
And then it automatically converts those inputs into a structured, powerful ROCD prompt that's ready for final execution. It saves all that mental effort.
Which leads us directly to actionable habit 2, deep research and synthesis.
And the expert's recommendation here is an absolute.
Never rely on a single model. The quality of your research output is directly proportional to the diversity of the models you use.
So this requires what they call the 4-model strategy to ensure you get a comprehensive, unbiased output.
Okay, so let's break down the roles. We start with Grok.
Right.
Grok is primarily for accessing Twitter data and UGC user-generated content, and for understanding public sentiment. Since it has that unique access to the X platform's data fire hose, it's unparalleled for taking the real-time cultural temperature.
So you can ask it to, say, analyze the top 100 trending tweets about the Lenskart IPO.
And the sources showed this in action. Grok's output was that 68% of the sentiment was negative, mostly focused on overvaluation. That gives you the public crowd perspective, the emotional truth of the market.
Okay, next up is Claude.
Which they noted is best for long-form content creation, scripts, essays, LinkedIn posts. But the specific technique here is crucial. Constructive critiquing.
This is brilliant. So instead of just accepting Claude's first draft of a post,
You immediately ask the AI, why will this post not work? You force it to identify its own weaknesses.
and Claude will actually do it. It'll say, the call to action is weak, or the language is too passive.
Then you ask it to rate the current post, say a 7 out of 10, and you instruct it to rewrite it to achieve a higher score, like a 9 out of 10.
That iterative, almost adversarial process forces the AI to become its own internal editor.
And it significantly improves the quality and the strategic effectiveness of the content.
Okay, so the third pillar is using Gemini or Perplexity for traditional deep research.
These models excel at pulling data from credible articles, news sources, and established expert analyses. They move beyond the raw public sentiment that Grok gives you.
So when you're researching that Lenskart IPO, you would ask Gemini to analyze financial data from credible analysts and past IPO performances, deliberately ignoring the social media noise.
Exactly. And that brings us to the final essential step, the synthesis workflow.
Right. You've gathered 4 reports: Grok's sentiment, Claude's critique, Gemini's expert data, maybe another LLM's general summary. Why do you need to dump all 4 into a 5th LLM?
Because of the political correctness track. Many leading models are constrained by these safety guardrails that prevent them from offering direct, actionable advice, like a firm investment prediction. They generalize, they hedge, they end with consult a professional.
Right.
But when you task a synthesis model with combining 4 diverse, factual reports, sentiment, analyst data, content structure, you change its mandate. You force it to generate a final consolidated conclusion based on the totality of the facts.
So it overrides the individual model's reluctance to draw a line. It's not generating new facts, it's just delivering the most logical conclusion based on the context it just received.
And that's how you get actionable insights that overcome those generic, risk-averse AI outputs. It's how you move from basic usage to generating deeply researched, multi-perspective output that no single human could compile in the same time frame.
Which leads us to actionable habit 3. Leveraging AI as a force multiplier for output. This isn't just about writing emails anymore. This is about generating high-value business assets instantly.
And the sources demonstrated 2 incredibly high-leverage outputs. First, instant pitch decks.
A process that traditionally takes weeks of research, design, financial modeling.
And is now reduced to minutes, using a super agent tool like GenSpark combined with expert ROCD prompting.
The prompt they used was masterful. Act as a McKinsey consultant, follow Y Combinator Sequoia pitch deck structure.
And they applied this to the Cura Home website. The agent then autonomously researched the entire market. It calculated the TAM, the SAM, the ESOM.
It analyzed competition, estimated gross margins, and then it outputted a full deck structure, including the ask and the capital deployment plan.
A human consultant spends days, sometimes weeks, on market sizing. The AI does it in seconds based on external data access via MCP.
The second high-leverage output, websites and redesign. They used a tool, I think it was Bolt.new, to generate a fully responsive, designed website.
They did. The example was for a company called Figuring Out Media.
And from a single prompt detailing the services, podcasting, content marketing, and the brand colors, black, gray, yellow, the AI built a complete front-end website in minutes.
And crucially, they showed you could select a specific section of that new website and prompt the AI to redesign this section. It's too basic, or it's too verbose.
That iterative refinement capability, it just makes the days of waiting 2 weeks for a basic web design iteration obsolete.
Then there's the third output, visual content and video. Even basic tools like Canva integration let you create branded WhatsApp posters instantly.
But the truly game-changing area they highlighted was using advanced models like Sora for video generation.
The process is so simple, but so powerful. You take a product image, say a vegetable chopper with a green screen background, then you prompt for a specific tailored UGC-style ad.
And they showed you can request a video featuring a specific persona, like an Indian housewife in a premium kitchen.
Or, even more bizarrely, generate a video of a famous CEO endorsing the product just by selecting a pre-cloned voice and visual model.
The result is a highly specific, targeted, localized video ad generated in minutes, a process that used to require a whole professional production team, casting, a location,
and a significant budget. This is the definition of a force multiplier. You are now a production studio.
So this phenomenal output capability, it leads to the natural question. If the jobs are disappearing, where are the pockets of opportunity?
This is the freelancing and consulting angle.
And the direct response to job displacement is to focus on servicing the engine of the economy that is currently the least efficient.
Small to medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, in your local market.
They're the backbone of the economy, but they lack that in-house efficiency mindset of a billion-dollar startup. They're perfect targets for this kind of high-value AI consulting.
And the sources identified 3 high-value areas for consulting. First, lead generation. Building AI landing pages, running targeted ads, optimizing local businesses for search and chatbots.
Second, sales and touch. Deploying AI voice agents for inbound and outbound sales calls without writing any code.
The only skill you need is understanding the business context and writing the correct ROCD prompts for the agent.
And third, efficiency strategy. This is the high-level consulting work. Automating internal processes like procurement, inventory management, basic operations for SMEs, using off-the-shelf AI tools.
You don't need to be an engineer. You need to be a system thinker who understands workflow.
And finally, the source introduced the concept that unites all of these opportunities.
Service as a software. SaaS.
So what is that?
SaaS is the future model. You combine a highly efficient automation layer, that's the AI, with a smaller, lower-cost service layer, a small team of people.
And this solves the customer service problem.
It does. Giants like telecom companies employ hundreds of thousands of call center agents and still provide terrible customer service because they rely solely on high headcount.
With SaaS, you integrate the AI automation layer to solve, say, 80% of issues instantly, and you reserve your human team for the 20% of complex, high-empathy escalations.
It guarantees efficiency and higher quality service. It's the most viable long-term strategy for consulting and productizing AI services for SMEs.
So we've covered the why, the what, and the how. Now for the essential protective advice in Section 4.
The pitfalls. The sources really emphasize that the single biggest pitfall is ignoring the vulnerability of what they call template jobs.
And the fear shouldn't be focused on which sector you're in?
No, it's about whether your day-to-day tasks are predictable. The sources were very clear about this, citing a Microsoft report that listed 40 job categories at risk.
Let's look closer at some of those categories. Entry-level software developers, accountants, call center and telemarketers, cashiers, historians, and data scientists.
Yeah.
Why are data scientists on that list? That seems counterintuitive.
Because while the high-level architecture of data science is complex, the daily execution cleaning data, running standard models, generating template reports, is highly repeatable.
So the common thread is the repeatability of the tasks.
Exactly. If a task has a playbook or a standard operating procedure, an SOP, that if this, then that logic, it will be automated with higher efficiency and lower cost. The vulnerability isn't manual versus cognitive.
It's template versus adaptive.
That's it. And conversely, the sources listed the jobs that will endure, the ones with physical resilience.
Right. These are the jobs Microsoft claims will not be disrupted. Nurse,